Okay, hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Sylvie Serant, and I am a member of Student Affairs. I am here today joined by Director of Facilities Jonathan Abreu and Dean of Student Affairs Michael Richards, who will be answering some questions regarding student affairs and safety protocols upon opening campus. So while COVID-19 spread may be decreasing in New York, we are aware that this is a persisting and important issue to address as we approach the fall semester. So my first question for you both is, what is LIM College doing to make sure students are safe when they're on campus during the fall 2020 semester?
LIM has implemented physical distancing
Okay.
by making sure that we space out all of the classroom furniture, computer lab furniture, by adding signage, by and there's going to be a lot of training to make sure that everyone understands what physical distancing is, how to make sure that we are compliant with it.
Right.
We've also and before everything even started, we put together a team of people that sat down and made sure that we implement everything that the state is requiring, the city, and the CDC. Anything else, Michael?
Well, I mean, I'll just tag on to what you're saying. As Jonathan mentioned, we've been working for months, literally since we went remote. And on March 11th, I think was the date. President Marcuse was very adamant about having a working group put together that would work not only on the academic portion of the return to campus, but also, as Jonathan was mentioning, on the actual physical return and our return to operations and business and the new normal, so to speak. And so there's been a lot of thought that's been taken into place, physical distancing, COVID-19 testing prior to arrival on campus, just reconfiguration of classroom space. And so there's been so much thought put into this that we hope that everyone will feel a sense of comfort in returning to campus.
Tracing, we are all taking in the groups the tracing course. We're also implementing new cleaning protocols that also address in case there is a outbreak or a positive case on campus, and how we will deal with that in terms of the facilities. We put a lot of work into a lot of the stuff that we're implementing and that are in the plan.
Definitely. And I think the short of what we're saying is that the health and safety of all community members at LIM has been at the top of mind and our top priority.
Amazing. So may I ask as well, so I know that a lot of public spaces at the moment have a maximum amount of people allowed in the space at a time, considering the fact that we have, for example, Maxwell Hall, which is such a large building, and then we also have smaller classrooms. Will there be a limit as to how many people can be in the building at a time, or how many people can be in the classroom at a time?
Both. There is a limit on how many people are going to be on every one of our floors. There is a limit on how many people should be in the elevators. There is a limit on how many people should be in every classroom and every computer lab. Even public spaces, there is some of the furniture has been removed, and we placed floor decals to make sure that the furniture stays in place, just so as the facilities team walks around, or even cleaning staff walks around and sees that if furniture is out of place, meaning this is not where it's supposed to be, this may be violating some of the social distancing rules, we move it right back into place. So all of this you will see as you walk through the building when you guys get back on campus.
Okay. And will there be people, supervising this to make sure that there is a certain amount of people in a class or on a floor or in a space at one time?
You want me to answer this one, or you will?
You go first, and then I'll step in.
Okay. So it is everyone's responsibility. That includes students, staff members, and faculty members. We are going to make sure that all of our faculty members and staff members are trained and understand how important it is to make sure that we are compliant. But my staff, also the facility staff, will be walking around and just making sure that things are in place. If we do see something out of place, or if someone is not wearing a mask or something like that, we will ask them if they can please wear the mask, because this is something that we have to comply with.
Jonathan, I couldn't have said it any better. Ultimately, it's about shared responsibility. And there used to be that old MTA saying that if you see something, say something. And that goes for the time that we're in right now. If you see something on campus that isn't right or that's going against policy, please say something. You can find your nearest administrator, your nearest facilities member, and we will make sure to address the issue at hand.
And do you have a range of how many people at a time are going to be in a class, or for example, how big classes are going to be now?
Most classrooms, especially the smaller ones, are between 8 and 10 people. We do have some spaces that are a little bit larger. So there are going to be some classes that are a little bit larger than that, but most of them are going to be around that size.
Understood. And I'd also like to ask, some students were wondering, will professors be teaching from behind glass?
So we did look at that. So what we did was we are going to equip everyone with a face shield, a plexiglass face shield. Okay. And when I say everyone, I mean all the faculty members. All the faculty members will have a face shield. They are required to wear some sort of face covering, so they can either wear the shield and the mask or just the shield while they're teaching. But other than that, there are some areas that will have some plexiglass to make sure that, again, we comply with social distancing wherever we could not do that. So that's how that was laid out.
As you were mentioning before, to be on campus, students do have to provide a negative COVID-19 test to the college, and the results have to be dated after, August 3rd, 2020. So what kind of COVID test is required for this? How should students go about providing that proof? And will students have to be tested again at any point in the semester?
As you mentioned, COVID-19 testing is mandatory to return to campus, and that's mandatory for all students, faculty, and staff members. As for students, the COVID-19 test should be a viral test. So there's a viral test and an antibody test. We want students and all community members to get the COVID-19 viral test. The test has to be dated after August 3rd. And students should submit their negative COVID-19 test to the Office of Counseling and Accessibility Services. And they can do that via email, which is cas@limcollege.edu. Again, cas@limcollege.edu. And students, again, have to provide the negative COVID-19 viral test prior to the first day of classes or prior to coming on campus, because we understand that there are two modalities that are taking the place of our traditional on-ground experience, which is hybrid in-person and hybrid virtual. And just because a student is studying, let's say, hybrid virtual, does not mean that they're not going to come to campus, because students can still come to campus to utilize the community spaces, the computer lab, and so forth. So we want to make sure that any student who plans to come to campus at any point during the fall 2020 semester, they must submit a negative COVID-19 viral test dated after August 3rd, but the test should be submitted to the college before September 8th.
And is it possible that students might have to be tested again somewhere throughout the semester?
Absolutely. So it is very possible that a student would have to be tested throughout the semester. There is no basis right now where we're going to say everyone must be tested every week or at a certain period of time, but students and any community member could be asked to retest if they have come into contact with someone who is a suspected case or a confirmed case of COVID-19. They could also be asked to retest if they're exhibiting symptoms while on campus.
Also, a negative or the screening test, the daily screening. If you fail this daily screening, at that point, you will be asked to test again, more than likely, depending on the review from the tracer once you speak to the tracing agent.
Okay. So what happens if a student or faculty member does test positive for COVID-19 during the semester?
There are two parts to a positive or suspected case, because it's not just positive. If you are suspected and we're still waiting for results or anything like that, there's also action that we take on that at that moment. If you are suspected or you are confirmed positive, what happens is we would have to then do some tracing. The state itself and the city has a tracing program, but LIM, as stated before, has also required or asked a lot of our staff members and faculty members to do the tracing class so we can understand how the tracing process works, so we can also assist the state and city. And then the facilities side of it is that we will shut down the area. We will make sure that we understand through the tracing process where this person actually went, which building, which classroom, which area, if there's a library or anything like that. We'll shut those places down for a period between 48 and 72 hours. Within that time, we will make sure that we disinfect completely, and then we will reopen the area after the disinfection is completed and verified that disinfection has occurred.
Thank you so much for that. So I have a question for either of you. Do you know what kind of resources are available to students for acquiring these tests in terms of financially, or will there be resources as to, where can they go to get tested as well?
Absolutely. Students will be given testing resources. We actually submitted a reopening plan to the state, which we are extremely proud of, that is also available to our students to review. And even within that reopening plan, there are testing resources submitted in there. And students can also feel free to reach out to the Office of Student Affairs at any given time, and it's just studentaffairs@limcollege.edu. And we can also email you a copy of the resources. But it should also be noted that students who currently have health insurance through LIM College, their plan covers COVID-19 testing, so they will also be able to use their insurance to cover testing as well.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great news. Okay, great. So I do have another question. Michael, you might be able to answer this. So for students who are living in the New Yorker Residence Hall, do we know what testing is going to be like there?
Currently, as I mentioned, LIM is requiring that all community members receive a COVID-19 test and provide a negative COVID-19 test prior to coming to campus and or moving into the New Yorker. The New Yorker doesn't currently mandate that their residents provide negative COVID-19 testing. However, the New Yorker also reserves the right to request that any member of their community provide a negative COVID-19 test as well. But one of the things, and I know you didn't ask this, but I want to make sure that I mention it. One of the things that I am so excited about the New Yorker is, one, the things that they're planning to do for the students that are residing in the building in light of COVID-19. So students who need to come to New York and do a 14-day quarantine or required quarantine, the New Yorker is working with the students for them to be able to do that, and students can contact the New Yorker directly to set that up. And also what I'm excited about from the New Yorker is not only just the partnership that they're providing with LIM College, but I'm excited about the building's physical location, because it's actually a walkable distance to the main campus, to Fifth Avenue, to the townhouse, to the Maxwell Hall. And it may take maybe 15, 20 minutes to get there, but the fact that it's walkable, I think right now is something that is of utmost importance, and something that, you should be happy about in light of where we are with COVID-19.
Thank you so much. That was great. So also just to clarify, generally, what is the college's mask policy going to be for classrooms, buildings, and the elevator?
Absolutely. So the short of it is face coverings, which are inclusive of masks, but face coverings are going to be required at all times while you're on campus. And you have to wear it appropriately. A lot of times you see people with the chin guards on, so that's their face masks that are pulled down. That kind of defeats the purpose. So appropriately worn face coverings are required at all times while in any building, inclusive of the elevators.
So we know that students and teachers are going to be able to be checked upon entering the building, but is there something that's going to have to be done, upon re-entering, or like going building to building, knowing that, Fifth Ave and Maxwell Hall are, a 10-minute walk from each other? What's that going to be like?
I'm glad that you asked that, because that's not the way we're going to do it. Well, while there are thermometers on campus in case, you do not have a thermometer that where you check yourself before you leave your home. But we're requiring people to download an app, which we are finalizing now. Download an app, put it on your phone or your mobile device. You can then screen yourself at home prior to leaving your home. And this is actually best practice put out for colleges or schools. from the state, right, Michael?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, from the state. And what we're going to do is you're going to test at home. You're going to have a couple of questions that you have to answer. You're going to check your temperature. And then once you hit go or send, it then will say either if you pass or fail the screening. And if you pass the screening, there's going to be some sort of receipt or a visual cue that all you have to do is flash to the security officers as you enter the buildings, and then you're able to come into the building. And that is you're going to use for the whole entire day. Now the screenings are daily, so you have to do this on a daily basis before you leave your home. And if you do fail, at that point you should not leave your home. And then there's going to be a list of instructions sent through the app, and also an alert will go out to the team of tracers that are on campus, and they will be in contact with you.
Okay, thank you so much. Very well explained. That's a really thorough way of going about it, and also ensuring that, it's taken care of before you even get to the school. So I really appreciate that. So I would just like to segue to more of student affair related activities. So my first question is for Michael. And I wanted to ask you, so will students be able to make in-person appointments with college offices, such as academic advising, financial aid, career services, etc.?
The short answer is absolutely. I know that has been a pressing question on many students' minds. Students will absolutely be able to make appointments, in-person appointments with academic advising in any office that they need to. What we are going to do is we're also going to offer virtual appointments as well for our students, as well for convenience. And so there will be a combination of virtual and in-person appointments that can be made in order to make sure that you get your questions answered or any business handled with the college that you need handled.
Okay. Does this go for the writing math centers as well in the library?
Students will absolutely have access to math and writing tutors and access to the library. Again, it's a part of the college experience, and we understand that. And so everything that we do, again, will be physically distanced or social distance, and we'll make sure that we're doing it in a safe manner. But students absolutely will have access to the things that they need to be successful at the college.
Okay. And so how does this apply to student clubs and activities? Is this still going to be conducted in person as well?
Definitely. So there will be in-person activities conducted, but there will also be an increase in virtual activities that will be conducted to really encompass the entire campus. So those who are studying in the hybrid virtual, as well as the hybrid in-person and can't make it to campus, as well as our online students as well. So we're going to have a very robust programming. One of the highlights that it happens every year is the Campus Life Fair. And what the Office of Student Life, under the direction of their director, M.T. Taloki, and with the assistance of the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs, Erica Manin, they're working on an endeavor to create an experience that's both in person and virtual. And one of the things that we're really excited about the Campus Life Fair for this year is the fact that instead of just being one day, it's actually going to be a full week. And so it'll really allow students to engage from both a virtual vantage point and an in-person vantage point as well.
Will this be affecting how many members a club can have now that certain activities can be conducted on campus?
Phenomenal question. This absolutely will not limit the number of individuals who can be a part of any club or organization. It may limit the number of individuals who can be in a specific room during a meeting. So what we're making sure that we're going to do is to really have a virtual component to where it can be streamed live for those who can't be in the in-person meeting, but also have the in-person meeting for those who can make it to campus for that meeting, and just to make sure that everyone is able to stay connected. And one of the things I would like to also say just about clubs and organizations is one of the phenomenal things that LIM College does is that we encourage our students to be involved. And what I'll say is just comes from personal experience. Involvement outside the classroom is just as important as involvement inside the classroom. So I do encourage students, especially in this current time, to get involved with clubs and organizations, because right now it's limitless. And if there's a club or organization that you would like to be a part of that maybe doesn't fit what you want to do, feel free to start a club and organization as well. And the Student Life Office will be there to support you.
Oh, that's so exciting. I didn't know that it was that easy to, start your own club. That's really informative. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, Jonathan, I have a question for you. A couple of students are just wondering about the student lounges in general. I know you mentioned that, furniture has been separated and et cetera, but just to clarify to everybody, the student lounges, will they be open and available for people to work in or to just spend time in? Do you have to specifically be working on something, or how is that going to work?
So we are working with the IT department. We're laying out extra computers because of in the labs, we're now limited in the labs. The quiet room is limited. Places where students typically sit next to each other and just kind of work on computers in the lounges are no longer going to be available, or not going to be available for the present time. So we've separated some of that and also added some other places, some computers in other places. There's some classrooms that are not going to be used in some buildings. So you may have access to some spaces or some of the spaces or some more space in certain buildings than other buildings. But yes, the shorter answer to all of this, yes, it's going to be open to hang out if you wanted to. But again, it is always with the caveat that we are all responsible to make sure to abide by the social distancing rules and regulations. So as you hang out, if you hang out with your mask on and you're socially distanced and all of this stuff is happening, that's perfectly fine. And yes, you have access to everything.
All right, thank you so much. So one more question, just about student workers specifically, because of course their work is to be on campus. How is that going to look like for them specifically? Will they be able to work in their office like they're used to?
We are presently working with every single department who usually employs student workers, so we can identify which areas we can have some limited student workers on campus. I will be honest with you, it's not going to be the same amount, just as it is with staff members. But there are spaces that are allocated completely to student workers, and those spaces we are going, for the most part, are not going to be shared. So you will have like an allocated student worker desk for that student worker for that whole week or 2-week period or whatever time it is that they're going to come into work for. We've separated schedules, so people who are working on, who work in one cubicle or one workstation is not going to sit directly next to another person who sits in that workstation. They will be scheduled different days, different times. And so that's how we're trying to make sure that everyone still complies with social distancing, but also just feels comfortable in the space and has enough space around them, not just the 6 feet distance, but have a lot more space. Because when you are in your cubicle, you may want to eat. Since we're trying to avoid the moving around in the space as much, you're going to want to eat and you're going to have to take off your mask. So allowing for a little bit more room in those areas is something that we are doing.
Student workers will absolutely still have the opportunity to work on campus. They will continue to work with the departments on their scheduling and within the needs of the department.
So a few students were just wondering if the LIM College Bookstore and the Pickler Coffee Window are going to be open this semester.
Yes, Pickler will be open. The window is going to be open. We've had a discussion with them, and they're going to be also doing the protection, making sure that the plexiglass is up, making sure that the signage is on the floor, and that people keep social distancing while they're waiting, if there is a line ever.
The bookstore will absolutely be open for students to go in and pick up their LIM gear, and it will be open for students and for community members as well.
One last question. So are there going to be any trainings or webinars coming up where students can learn about the fall 2020 safety processes?
We will be having webinars and safety trainings that are coming up. The webinars and safety trainings will launch the first week in August. So please make sure that you check your LIM email, and also that you're staying in touch with the college through social media, because there will be webinars that we will have open dialogue, question and answer periods. We'll also have safety presentations and let you know all that the college has been doing in order to prepare for the return of our students and our community members for fall 2020.
So that actually does wrap up all of our questions for today. And I just wanted to thank you both for being here. And like Michael and Jonathan said, you can find any information regarding this on the LIM College website.